That's right. Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, it's Penny and Ann here this afternoon. That's right. It is time for Meet Me at the Diner with my very special guest, a very good friend, author Karen Petit is with us here today. She says she's a true Carolina girl, and I believe that. She's also the regent for the Issaquena chapter of DAR. Can trace her lines way back, folks, way back in multiple different venues. And she is a award-winning journalist and a book writer, and she's written several books. I think she's written about 10 children's books, actually. And this book that we're going to be talking about and an event that they're doing at the museum on Friday, it's called Celebrate America, and let's see, there it is, Celebrate America, and that's what we're going to talk about. Penny has been inspecting the book. Okay, Penny's been inspecting the book and looking at it, and love some of the pictures. I've showed them over the last few days, and we're going to be talking with Karen about all this. So, Karen Petit, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great, Ann, and it's always a pleasure to be here and talking to you, and now having Penny as your co-host. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. She loves having company. She loves people that appreciate her. That is the important thing, is that she knows that people appreciate her.
Exactly. And we do appreciate our dogs.
Absolutely. So, you've written this book. It's been out almost a year, hasn't it?
A little more than a year, yes.
Yes. And tell us about Celebrate America, the People Declare Independence. How did this come about?
Well, in 2022, I was talking with a good friend of mine from the Daughters of the American Revolution, Nancy Heritage. I can remember exactly where we were standing in Columbia. I can't remember what we were wearing, but I can tell you where we were standing. And she knew that I had written other children's books, and she said, "Have you ever thought about writing a book for children on the American Revolution?" And I had not. And we talked a little bit, and I really didn't give the idea very much thought at the time. But then I thought, well, America 250 is coming up in a few years. And, of course, at that point, it seemed so very far away.
Right.
And the problem for me was that in my other children's books, the characters were all dogs. My children's books feature dogs as characters, and especially my dogs, because I know them best. So I couldn't figure out how I could have a dog in the American Revolution, because I have two dogs, one a standard poodle named Lady, and Louie, who is a Bichon, and he's my wild child, and it just didn't seem that either one of them would be fit for war. So the more I thought about it, and thought about the war, and I thought about the chaos of the war, it did seem to me that Louie, who creates so much chaos at home, might be a good fit for the chaos of war. I mean, you just couldn't put a standard poodle in the American Revolution with all the frou-frou and the hair and all of that. I mean, it just was not a good fit. But Louie, on the other hand, being my wild child and adventurous and troublemaking and just a delight always, but a little bit of mischief maker.
Yes, he's got a mischievous side.
Yes, I call him a 15-pound tornado wearing a perpetual smile. And so I thought, well, I could put Louie in the book. Louie is 15 pounds. He'd be manageable. You could get him from place to place and doing whatever. But there was a problem, again, because Bichons did not live in America in the 1700s. Bichons did not come to America until the 1900s, around mid-1950s. And so I knew that some animal purist or historian would say to me, well, there were no Bichons living in America at that time.
Right.
So I had to figure out how I could get Louie from modern day to colonial America, make it work as best as I could historically.
Right.
And the answer was to have him time travel.
Time travel, of course. That's totally normal.
Right. I mean, who doesn't send their dog to the American Revolution or have them time travel somewhere? And I will have to be very honest, I do not like time travel stories. That was a very big hurdle for me to overcome because
Right.
I don't like it, but it was necessary. I was going to have to do it, force myself to figure it all out in order to get Louis from modern day America to the 1700s.
Okay.
And I just kept thinking about it and letting the ideas percolate and swirl around in my head. And finally, I figured out how I could do it.
Well, it's a fascinating story. Now, what is the significance of a book like this?
To me, it is a way to help children learn history and learn about the American Revolution and our fight for liberty and freedom without hitting a child over the head in school. Because a lot of times I think history, there's a barrier to history because people associate it with learning dates and places. But really, history is about the people and the experiences who do things at a time and on a specific date. It's not just dates and places. So,
And extraordinary things happened during the Revolution.
And very extraordinary things, and very extraordinary people, and also very extraordinary circumstances that nobody would ever have imagined. If you had tried to write a book about the American Revolution and you were trying to make it all up, you really couldn't make up what happened.
Right.
Because nobody thought that colonists could overcome the mightiest army in the world at that time. It would just have been too much of a leap, but it is what happened.
Well, speaking about that, Carolina Day, which is coming up, is a perfect example of that.
It is.
Tell us about that story.
Well, that happened in 1776 on June the 28th, just a few days before the Declaration of Independence was approved in Philadelphia. And before 1776, there had been so much back and forth between the colonists and the British anyway. It was a very unsettling time. The colonists resented the British being in their homes and the taxation. We all know the phrase taxation without representation. So there was a lot of animosity and ill will, and we were on the brink of something happening. And as it just so happened, the British were really weary of what was going on, and they sent warships to the south.
They thought they could crush us.
They thought they could crush us, and so here we are. We're out, on Sullivan's Island, and so we built a fort out of palmetto logs, our wonderful palmetto trees. Nobody had ever built a fort like that before, but, by golly, we were going to try it and see what happens.
That was the only thing that was available.
Right, it's all they had. So they did, and there were about 400 Americans, of South Carolinians, probably mostly, and they put up the fort as best they could. It was unfinished. They were raw and inexperienced soldiers. They weren't well trained. You've got these massive British ships off the coast who, begin bombarding the fort, and then the next thing you know, the palmetto trees don't shatter. They either
bounced
off, or they absorbed it. So they didn't crush the fort. And after going through an all-day experience of this and getting ready into the evening, the British gave up, and
well, they had suffered a lot of casualties.
They had.
And the Americans did not even have that much gunpowder or anything else, so
No.
they had to be very strategic on how they were firing their cannons.
So at the end of the day, the British left, and it was a morale booster because it showed the colonies that, yes, we could put up a fight against the mighty British.
Can.
Yes, we can. And we did.
Right.
And we did. And that was again just about 6 days before the Declaration of Independence was approved. It was kind of a boost, at least in the South, to morale, and it gave us our first, significant victory. And the rest is history, I guess, as they say. So beginning in 1777, South Carolina began honoring that particular battle, and we have continued it. And I think in the 1800s, it began being called Carolina Day. And so this Sunday, June the 28th, is Carolina Day, and it will kick off a series of events across the state having to do with South Carolina's history and our role in the American Revolution.
And because of that, that's why our state is called the
Palmetto State. Yes.
That's a pretty cool story.
It is a very cool story, and I do think that it's special to South Carolina. No Palmetto Fort had ever been built before, and we did it, and it worked.
South Carolina ingenuity.
Always.
Yes, right.
Always, yes.
I think when we talk about history, I mean, this is a little off the topic, but I know this is one of your favorite stories, too, is about how we always think of the Boston Tea Party.
Yes, we do.
And the tea was thrown overboard and just wasted. But here in the South, what happened?
Yes, well, here in the South, the tea came into the Charleston harbor, and the Charlestonians said, well, we're not going to accept it. We're not going to pay the taxes, and we're not going to accept it. This was in December 1773. And so there was back and forth between the merchants and the residents in Charleston and the ship's captain. And so finally a decision was made that they wouldn't pay for the tea, but they wouldn't sell the tea either. So they took the tea off the ship. It was 250-something chests of tea.
Right.
And they put it in what is now the old Exchange building and held on to it. So that was before the Boston Tea Party. South Carolina had the first tea party in America. Not only did we have one, but we had several of them in Charleston over the next year or so. And so we don't get credit for that as being the first tea party in America, but we did spill the tea first.
Yes.
Well, we didn't really spill it.
No, we were smart.
We were smart.
Yes.
Because what happened was the tea remained in the Exchange building, and when war did break out, they were able to sell the tea to help buy ammunition.
So there you go.
Now, so the people in Boston threw the tea overboard, and it was wasted, and they got nothing for it, but we at least got money for our tea.
Absolutely. Well, we kind of took a side trip there, but I just thought those are interesting stories because I think a lot of people don't realize how fascinating South Carolina history and the role that South Carolina played in the whole Revolutionary War.
The war was won in South Carolina with more than 400 battles and skirmishes. The war really did wear the British down. And so finally
they couldn't figure us out because we were always changing things.
And they had never fought like we were fighting here in South Carolina. There was more bloodshed.
We were street fighters.
Well, Francis Marion and his militia group really perfected guerrilla warfare. And so that was just totally bizarre to the British. We didn't fight like you're supposed to, like line up and wait for somebody else to just shoot across the field and then you advance and just advance toward the guns. I mean, they hid in the swamps, and it was just so different.
It was. So this kind of gives you a little background, I think, about the fact that Karen has always loved history.
I have.
And
since I was a child, and I don't know why. Although my father loved history, and he would always, if we went anywhere, we would go to some place that was historic to visit.
Yes. And so in her book, the Celebrate America, The People Declare Independence, to get back on track, Anne, you dedicated it to the men, women, and children whose sacrifices during the American Revolutionary War gave our nation its freedom. the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, whose members are dedicated to preserving the history of our nation's founding, and the Noble Patriots whose services changed the course of history for the world, and the animals who played a critical role in our nation's war efforts. I mean, that's quite a three-pronged effort here.
It was quite a three-pronged effort, and I don't think a lot of times people have always realized the contributions of women and children. Everybody sacrificed during that time. The men were at war, the women were left behind to run the homes, the farms, the businesses, whatever they were doing to bring their livelihood. Mm-hmm. Children took care of younger siblings while mother was cooking or doing whatever she was doing for the war effort. And children as young as would consider them children, 14 and 15, enlisted and fought in the revolution.
And we also had children taking secret messages.
They
being
did.
Spies, right?
They did.
Well, not spies, but they were taking the messages to tell what was happening.
Women did that too, and it put them at great risk. I have a woman, a female ancestor, who is recognized as a patriot by the Daughters of the American Revolution because her husband was killed in battle, and she drove wagons and delivered supplies to the Patriots, putting her life at risk. And she had young and teenage children at home, and at the end of the war, she was paid for those services, so that's how we know what she did. There is a financial record of that, and she's recognized as a female patriot. And a lot of people just don't realize that there are women who are considered female patriots and that they provided a great service. But everybody contributed and sacrificed. I mean, the women lost their husbands, or their sons, or their fathers. I mean, it was a time of great suffering for everyone living at that time.
Absolutely. I can also remember the exhibit that was at the museum a couple of years ago. What was it called? The Voices of the Revolution.
Mm-hmm. It was.
And that was a fabulous, talking about the different roles that even Indians, black people played in it. It really encompassed everybody.
It did. And a lot of these stories have not been told, but fortunately, here we are 250 years later, we are talking about the blacks and the American Indians and the contributions that they made to the war effort. And people are beginning to hear those stories and to know those voices. And those are stories that need to be told and are being told.
Yes. So, with all that kind of background there, Karen decides to write this book. So now the premise is, how does Louis get from the present to the past?
Yes. All right, so we start out in modern day America, and Louis lives with a little boy named Buddy and his family. And Buddy loves history. In my mind, Buddy is about 8 or 9 years old, somewhere young like that. But he loves history and he loves to read. And he reads books to Louis about the American Revolution. And he and his family go on trips to historic sites, and Louis goes with them to those visits. So Louis knows about the American Revolution, and he knows what's going to happen, and he understands the American Revolution. And so one day, Buddy and his mother, a woman named Mrs. Griffin, are going to Star Fort because archaeologists are coming there to study the historic tunnel that was built under the fort. That was built, not under the fort, but was built in 1780. Was it 81? I can't remember. Obviously my dates are not great there, but anyway,
they're a little blurry.
They're a little blurry. Yes.
Okay.
So they're going to visit, and and the archaeologists have come to study the tunnel, which you can't get to anymore, but they have the ground digging equipment and they're studying it. I mean, all of this, of course, is made up, but that's the premise.
This is the fiction part of the story.
This is where I took some liberties, yes, with the story. So while they're there, Buddy throws Louie's ball, and Louie goes running after the ball, and the ball is rolling toward the hole that has been dug to study the tunnel. And just as the ball is getting ready to go in to the tunnel, the ground shakes and Louie falls into the tunnel.
A little tremor.
Yeah, a little tremor. Well, we've had some of those.
I know. That's why
that was not a stretch in terms of the history. And so Louie falls through the hole, and when he lands, he's in Philadelphia in 1776.
Wow. Time traveler.
The time traveler, yes.
Yeah. So then the story continues, and you talk about he journeys, right?
He does. So when he lands, he's on the docks at Philadelphia, and he's tangled up in a net, and a young man named Philip finds him, and Philip he's never seen a dog like Louie before. Louie's odd to him. He realizes that Louie has on a collar that has his name, Louie, so he knows what his name is. Doesn't have a phone number or anything on it, but he has his name.
That was a good thing. That would have thrown him off.
That would have been strange. The whole thing, the collar and the tag are strange to start with, but that really would have been strange. And so he realizes that Louie must be lost, and he says, well, he's going to take Louie to his job with a man named Mr. Franklin. And Louie's
coincidence, folks, coincidence.
Yes, and Louie's thinking, Mr. Franklin, does he mean Benjamin Franklin? And that indeed is who Philip works for. He works as a courier for Benjamin Franklin in his print business and other business. And so at this particular time, Benjamin Franklin, Continental Congress are meeting. They're talking about the Declaration of Independence. Benjamin Franklin was one of several men who helped Thomas Jefferson craft the Declaration of Independence. Although Thomas Jefferson clearly was the writer, they just made edits and suggestions. And so over the next several days, Louie and Philip are delivering messages between Thomas Jefferson and Continental Congress and Benjamin Franklin. So Louie's beginning to settle into, his life in Philadelphia and being a part of history now. And he knows what's getting ready to happen. He knows that they are going to adopt the Declaration of Independence. And what he has heard Buddy telling him in the books is now his life.
So from Louie's perspective, to be able to see history being made, but to already know what the history is pretty exciting, I would presume.
It is. I mean, Louie is really caught up in the excitement of living the American Revolution now. And he's a bit torn because he misses Buddy, and he wonders, what Buddy is thinking about. And he thinks, Buddy's probably looking for me, and he's probably upset that he can't find me. And he feels guilty that here he is living the very thing that Buddy used to tell him about. And yet he's missing Buddy as well. So he has those feelings of being torn between his present and the past.
This sounds sort of like the Wizard of Oz.
A little bit.
Yeah, about the travel and everything and coming back. Yeah. Well, this is a fascinating book. I know it's gotten rave reviews. It's gotten reviewed by some different big groups. It got you entered into a competition for...
Yes, I was entered in the the Dog Writers Association of America, their writing competition. And this is a competition that's been going on since the 1930s. And so Bonner Abercrombie, the wonderful illustrator for my book, and we'll have to talk about that, Bonner, a little bit. We were nominated for several different awards, and we went to New York in January.
What a time to go, but anyways.
Yes, it was the weekend of the ice and the big ice and snow and all of that. And
it was during the American Kennel dog show, right?
The
Yes.
American Kennel Club dog show, Westminster Dog Show. So Bonner and I went to New York, and we went to the agility trials of the Westminster Dog Show, and that was very exciting. We did not win the awards, but we were finalists for the awards, and so we were very grateful to have the national recognition. We also were finalists for another competition for independent publishers and writers, and so we were very happy to be recognized. We recently were interviewed for an article for the American Kennel Club, their newsletter, so that should come out soon. And I am just very grateful that I found Bonner to illustrate my book. She's a wonderful artist. She's a graphic designer at Lander University, where I work too. We just kind of stumbled upon realizing that I was trying to write a book, but I didn't have an illustrator. She had always wanted to illustrate a children's book, and so we began working together, and the illustrations are just beautifully done, and she does them by pencil.
Yeah.
And she went through hundreds of pencils to create the beautiful illustrations for the book, and they truly are magnificent.
Yeah, there you go. That's, let me get it right there. Yeah, that's a cool one. That's another dog, and Louie in the pouch.
That's Mimi.
Mimi.
Mm-hmm. And Mimi is a Bichon. So that's another thing in the book. Mimi.
He had a love interest?
Well, a friend interest.
A friend interest.
Yes,
okay.
A friend interest.
Okay.
Mimi actually did come to America from France, where Bichons were living in the 1700s. And that's a picture of Benjamin Franklin, reaching out his hand and Louis reaching out his paw. And Bonner meticulously researched the buildings, the cobblestones, the ship sails, and especially the clothing of the time. And she looked at portraits, for instance, of Benjamin Franklin, because he was always known to wear very fine fabrics. He was quite wealthy. And also just the meticulous nature of her research was something that impressed me so much, because some of my previous books, the illustrations, and it was what I wanted, were more whimsical, but I knew that for this book it had to be historically accurate. Not everybody would be willing to do the kind of research that Bonner did. It's one thing for me to do the research because I'm a history nerd, but to drag somebody else into that's another thing.
Right.
And you don't know that somebody's is going to want to go on that adventure with you, but I think you've got a picture now of Louis that is just beautifully done.
That's great. Let's see if I can put it back over here.
And it looks just like Louis.
Yeah, there you go. Isn't that great? I think that is just terrific. So, what an experience. Now, how long did it take to write this book?
It took about a year to research it and write it, and then, another 6 to 8 months for the illustrations and putting it all together. And the wonderful thing about working with Bonner is that she is so professional and so creative that I just basically would hand her the pages and then she would create. I didn't say, this is what I want on this page. This is, what...
That was nice. That was nice for a working relationship.
Right.
Yes.
But I know as a creative person, or somewhat creative person, that I work best without somebody giving me too much direction and too many demands. I mean, I'm not adverse to having direction. In fact, I like it. But sure. I like to also be given the freedom to kind of create and do. And I knew that she would... I've seen her work, and I know how great she is, and I didn't want to hamper that. And I didn't even know what the cover of the book was going to look like until she had actually created the cover, and I was just blown away by what she had done.
Well, that's very, very cool. And now, what age group is this book for? I
tell people that, okay, the book is broken up into small chapters. There are 5 small chapters in the book, and has about 42, 43 pages. You can read like a chapter an evening or something, and children 5 and 6 could have the books read to them, and then maybe those who are 7, 8, 9, and older would read the books for themselves. But honestly, a lot of adults have bought the book, and I've had people buy it because they say it's a great coffee table book because of the beautiful illustrations. Wow. So that was a very nice surprise to me, and a lot of people just love the story, and two, it has an adorable dog in the story.
How can you go wrong when you have an adorable dog?
You really can't. Sometimes I just, I mean, I know how cute Louis is, and I try to think about his personality and weave that into the story. And there's some mischievous things that he does in the book, like going after his ball and falling into a hole. And another time he tries to escape from Philip's messenger bag in the Continental Hall where they're discussing the Declaration of Independence, because he wants to get out and he wants to see everybody.
Right.
In the second book, he tries to get into the boat with George Washington for the crossing of the Delaware. and so Louis's mischievous personality does carry through in the books as well.
That's cool. That's cool. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about an event that Karen is going to be doing at the Greenwood Museum this Friday. So we hope you'll stay tuned with us. Our very special guest today is Karen Petit. She wrote the book Celebrate America, The People Declare Independence. This is the book right here. And you will have some for sale, I guess, on Friday. So if you'd like to get the book, you got to come see that. When we come back, we'll talk all about that. Right now, we're going to take a quick commercial break. If you've got a question or a comment, we already have had some comments right here on Facebook Live. Let's see. Graham said, Karen, happy 250th. Natalie McCrary said, go Karen. Heather Wells Pilgrim, woohoo, Karen. So people are commenting on your on being on the show here today. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the event on Friday. If you've got a question or comment, of course you can put it right there on Facebook Live, WCRS Radio. You can also 864-332-9355. That's 864-332-9355. You can message us and we'll try to get to any questions. So Karen Petit with us here for the hour right here on WCRS. We'll be back after this short break right here on WCRS Radio. Take it away. Here we go. Let's see if the music will play. Hey, let's do it. An American 250 revolutionary moment. As America celebrates its 250th birthday, let's journey back to a remarkable day that helped shape our nation's fight for independence. Just 6 days before the Declaration of Independence was approved on July 4, 1776, a pivotal battle unfolded on the South Carolina coast. June 28th marks the Battle of Sullivan's Island, known today as Carolina Day, and the first major American military victory over the mighty British Royal Navy during the Revolutionary War. At the center of the story was Colonel William Moultrie, who was tasked with defending Charleston Harbor. Using the island's abundant palmetto trees, his men built a fort unlike any other. The walls were made of soft, resilient palmetto logs, an innovation that would soon prove invaluable. In May of 1776, a powerful British fleet of more than 50 warships sailed south with plans to crush the rebellion in South Carolina. Inside the unfinished fort stood just over 400 American defenders. Many were young and inexperienced. Supplies were limited. Gunpowder was scarce. Then, on the morning of June 28th, 9 British warships opened fire. Hour after hour, cannonballs slammed into the fort's walls. But something extraordinary happened. Instead of shattering, the palmetto logs absorbed the impact. British shot bounced away or sank harmlessly into the spongy wood. Meanwhile, the Americans carefully aimed their cannon fire. They fired fewer shots, but with deadly accuracy. By sunset, the British attack had failed. The Royal Navy was forced to retreat. More than 220 British casualties were reported, while the American defenders suffered only a fraction of those losses. The victory electrified the colonies. It proved that ordinary Americans could stand against the world's most powerful military force and win. Today, the palmetto tree remains a proud symbol on South Carolina's state flag and is the reason South Carolina is known as the Palmetto State. For 250 years, South Carolinians have remembered the courage displayed at Sullivan's Island and the patriots who helped change the course of history. This is WCRS Radio, sharing the voice of 1776, brought to you by WCRS Radio and the Issaquena Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution. Oh, that's right. We are right back here at WCRS Radio. Penny is enjoying our discussion about, she's asked me if she could write a book. I don't know. Penny, you know, everybody has their talents. I know, but I'd like to write a book.
We can make that happen.
The art of being a radio and Facebook influencer. There you go, an influencer. All right, well, we are back here. I'm Ann Eller. Penny is sitting here right over my shoulder here. She's got her patriotic bandana on today. Our very special guest today is Karen Petit. We have been talking to Karen about her book, Celebrate America, The People Declare Independence. And Karen, that's part of a series of books, isn't it?
It is. This is the first book of a 3-part series on the American Revolution. The second book is the war years, what happens after the Declaration is signed, and that will take us, the second book will take us through about 1780 when the war turns to the South, and that's when we can share the accomplishments of our Southern patriots, and specifically those in South Carolina. We can press the point that the war was won in South Carolina, because if you're writing the book, you can tell the story the way you want to tell it.
Absolutely.
And then in the third book, we have to figure out how Louis gets back home.
To the present.
Yes.
To the present, yes.
And
to Buddy.
Yes. Yes, to Buddy, and how that's going to happen. I have an idea, but I'm not completely sure that's the way I'm going to do it, but I have a little while to think about it. So book
when is the book 2 coming out?
Yeah, it will be out in late October, in time for Christmas. So that book is Celebrate America, the Revolutionary War years, and then the third book is Celebrate America, A New Nation is Born.
A trilogy.
A trilogy, yes.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, we have a little bit of time left. We spent some time talking history. We've talked about her book, Celebrate America, The People Declare Independence, with the famous character, Louis, who is a real live dog and belongs to Karen.
He does.
And if you follow Karen on Facebook, Karen Petit, you will see on many occasions Louis and his mischievous things that he gets into. Most famously, I think, is some of the lipsticks that he's destroyed for you.
Louis has a passion for getting into my handbag, I think, and he does like my lipsticks, L'Oreal in particular, and there are times when I will find Louis with red lipstick all over his beautiful white fur, which it makes a statement.
It does make a statement. Now, is Friday, though, you've got a special event going on. You're going to be at the Greenwood Museum, Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this is a very exciting event for children to talk about the Declaration of Independence and its significance, and to have some events and activities that are fun, a fun way to learn. I will be there to read the book. It's different intervals throughout the morning. It's from 10:30 to 12:30 Friday at the museum. We're very fortunate, the Sequina chapter, to be able to collaborate with the museum on this event. We're going to have a station where children can make a tricorn hat and a cockade, the little symbols that went on the tricorn hats that would distinguish the level of officer that a person was in the military, but also to say, okay, I'm American. Don't confuse me with that British person over there. Anyway, so the tricorn hats were very significant during the American Revolution, so you can make a tricorn hat. We'll also have a station where children will sign the Declaration of Independence and receive a special certificate saying that they signed the Declaration of Independence that they can take home with them, along with their tricorn hat. We have a 4-foot-tall Declaration of Independence where children can stand and have their pictures made with that, a little photo op. We have a spinning wheel demonstration. There's also going to be a station where they can learn about invisible ink and how that was used by spies during the American Revolution.
Come on, they didn't use invisible ink back then, did they?
They did, yes. It was highly perfected and was used during the American Revolution for passing messages back and forth. And so someone would write a letter that was just like a regular letter, and then they would use some special chemical or something to, even I don't understand how it was done, and in between those lines. And that's where the phrase "reading between the lines" comes from, was because so they would use some sort of special, I'm going to call it potion, to make the words come up. And that was a lot of fun, I'm sure, for those people who were in charge of producing that and then reading it. So that will happen. And
so kids will be able to write with invisible ink?
Well, I don't know whether they will write with it or whether they will see it being done, but they will learn about it.
And are you going to have some other people there to help on this?
Yes, the members of the Sequina chapter and also the museum staff will be there. Children and their families also will be able to tour the museum's new wonderful Revolutionary War exhibit upstairs.
Road to the Revolution.
Yes, and that's very interesting. And what I love about that exhibit is that the museum has some very interactive activities upstairs in that within that exhibit for children, including being able to put on and wear colonial attire and the wigs from that era and the tricorn hats. And so that's very fun. They've got some games and some books. So it's an interactive experience upstairs, along with the information that is more geared toward adults. So
and they have a fort.
And they built a part of Star Fort. Yes, they did. So it's really a day for us to celebrate America 250 and kick off the activities that are leading up to July 4th, our 250th birthday, and to have children beginning to learn about America 250, talk about the Declaration of Independence, understand why we're doing this, why we have the fireworks, and to initiate some conversations among parents and children so that they can develop an interest in learning about our nation's history and also wanting to visit historic sites. And we're so fortunate to have the 96 National Historic Site right down the road where they can go and visit.
And they just have redone the inside of the
museum there. Mm-hmm.
And so that's pretty cool. I think one of the other things I like about the exhibit is you can take the Patriots route around the exhibit, or you can take the Loyalist route around it and see different things.
Yes, it's a very good way to learn about the history. And the museum also has had, in collaboration with Greenwood 250, a speaker series this month. And the last talk will be on Monday night with Tanya Guy from the Old Edgefield District Genealogical Society at 5:30 at the museum. So this has been an exciting time for all of us who are history buffs and history nerds, and learning about the history, not just of the American Revolution overall, but the history in our area, which was significant.
I think that's the thing, and I think sometimes we don't think we in Greenwood don't have any history, and we really do.
We have huge history in terms of the American Revolution, and it's been fun over the last several weeks to get to learn more about that. But certainly 96 always does a great job of telling what life was like then, is in addition to information about the two battles that were fought at 96. People don't realize that happened. They don't realize that there was a tunnel. One other thing about the visit on Friday for children and their parents is that children will receive patriotic treat bags. Yes, and
coloring book, coloring pages.
Yes. Louis doesn't always make personal appearances with me when I go to speak at events, but he will be there in all of his patriotic finery on Friday. And a friend of ours developed a coloring book of Louis in different historic sites and events, and so we will be giving that coloring book to children who attend.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Along with a few other little patriotic items. But it's a great opportunity for children and families to come to the museum, enjoy some free activities. All of this is free, some treats, and just learn a little bit about history. And that way they can talk about it over the 4th of July and hopefully spark an interest in learning more about history over the next several years, because America 250 kicks off July 4th, but it doesn't end. We talk about, we're at America 250 because
but it's not done.
But it's not done. We will be doing this now for probably the next 6 to 7 years.
6 or 7 years?
That's how long the war lasted.
Yeah, okay, I can see it now. Year 3. Are we still doing this?
Are they doing this again?
Right.
But every year will be different.
Sure.
Because there were different things that happened. 250 years of 1776, but then there was 1777 and so on and so on. So it
was the birth of a nation.
It was the birth of a nation. And a new order for the world. It was something that the world had not seen before. So it's going to be an exciting time.
It is. So we certainly hope that you'll come out on Friday to the museum, 10:30 to 12:30. Now, what age group would you say this is good for?
I say that it's good for every age. I mean, we've got the photo opportunities, so if you've got a toddler, you can stand them up next to the Declaration of Independence, take their picture, and then 25 years from now when they're getting married, you can show that.
You stood beside the Declaration of
That's
Independence.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, it helps children of all ages and their parents be part of history, and there'll be some great photo opportunities for signing the Declaration, receiving your certificate, making your tricorn hat, trying on clothes, seeing Louis. Yes, Louis loves these events because he loves children, he loves people.
No, he loves being a star.
Yes, I think Louis does. When Louis puts on his special patriotic garb, he knows that something is different.
I love seeing when Louis is very trained, shall we say, when he goes to daycare in the daytime and he knows the route, and he gets very anxious, doesn't he, when the car doesn't go where he thinks it should go.
Yes, he does. He knows the route to daycare, and when he realizes that he's not on the route to daycare, he becomes very he becomes very worried about where he may be going. He's not a fan of riding in the car, let me just say that. And so that does limit where I can take Louis. But Friday marks the 10th event that Louis has been to since we started this grand adventure. And one of those trips that we have taken was for a field trip to Star Fort, where we met some children and adults who were touring the fort and wanted to meet Louis. And so with some trepidation, I took Louis to Star Fort, where he earned his Bark Ranger certification that the National Park Service gives to dogs and their owners who behave themselves while they're visiting the different national parks. So we've had quite a big time.
I think a lot of people don't even realize how important Star Fort is to have a National Historic Site right here in our backyard.
It is huge. It
Right.
really is. And actually, on August the 22nd, they will be celebrating their 50th year as a national park site.
Right.
And Louis and I will be there for that event, too. I will be reading from the book at that event as well. But we are very fortunate in this area. And one thing that Greenwood 250 is doing a very good job of is that they are putting up special markers and interpretive signs around the county, and they'll be doing this throughout the next several years to be able to tell our story of this area and
Sure.
the people and their contributions to the war effort.
Sure. So this is an exciting time. I certainly hope that people will make it to the museum, 10:30 to 12:30. You can go to the museum Wednesday through Saturday, 10 to 5, 10 to 5, or 10 to 5, I think it is,
Yes.
10 to 5. And it's always open those hours, except it will be closed, I understand, the week of the 4th. But it is a great opportunity to see the museum. It's a great opportunity to meet Karen and Louie, have some fun, and be cool. That's one thing I love about the museum. It is always so nice and cool in that building.
It will be very cool for everybody to get out of the heat of the summer, and I'm very excited that our Daughters of the American Revolution and the Issaquena chapter have embraced this event. And
Now, the Issaquena chapter is a relatively new chapter in DAR.
we recently celebrated our 3rd birthday, and we are the newest chapter in South Carolina of
Now,
the Daughters
why
of
were
the
you
American
named
Revolution.
Issaquena?
We are named Issaquena for the Indian maiden who rode her pony some 96 miles to warn the settlers of an impending Cherokee attack.
Wow. That's pretty
That
important.
was in the 1700s, right before the American Revolution.
Now, if somebody maybe was a member of a DAR in another part of the country, they can.
If they move to Greenwood, they can transfer to a local chapter. Our chapter meets in the evening. Many DAR chapters have meetings during the day. When our chapter was formed, it was with the intent that we would try to appeal to women who can't take off at noon or 12 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon to attend a meeting, and so our meetings are in the evenings.
That's right. But if you're interested in finding out more, what should they do, Karen?
They can contact me. My email is scauthor@gmail.com.
That's right. So, part of the thing is you've got to verify and get your ancestry and everything in there. So it's kind of fascinating.
It is, and we work with people to help them do that, and it's free. We also have a wonderful website, Issaquena-dar.org, Issaquena-dar.org, that will tell you more about what we're doing, but more about what DAR is all about, because a lot of times people don't really understand. They think that we're like older, stuffy women, and we are anything but that. And we get out and we have a lot of, fun activities. I mean, the day after our big event on Friday, my chapter is having a hat making workshop in Abbeville. And so for members. And so that's something fun that we're doing. And we're having a big tea party on August the 1st. So there's a lot happening, and so we're very active. But we also do service projects as well, because DAR is a service organization honoring our veterans and education and patriotism and historic preservation in communities.
Absolutely. Well, Karen, it has been absolutely a delight to have you here this afternoon. I hope that people have gotten some ideas about getting this book, whether you get the book now or get it as a Christmas gift, or, they might even be able to get both books going into the fall, right?
Right.
So this is something to celebrate, because it is Celebrate America. The people declare independence, and, for all the warts that our world has, we still are unique. We still have done a lot of good things in this world. And thank God America was formed.
I agree. And Anne, thank you so much for allowing me to be on to share this today. And you've got a big anniversary coming up in September, the 85th anniversary of WCRS. So just think, for 85 of those 250 years, WCRS has been making a difference in the lives of people in our community. And thank you for all the work that you do to share our stories.
Well, thank you very much, Karen. Thank you very much. That's going to do it for us. If you want to get in contact with Karen, what's a good email?
scauthor@gmail.com.
And the best way, though, is to come see her on Friday at the museum, 10:30 to 12:30. And Louie, the crazy, unpredictable time traveler will be there too. And Penny says, I don't care about that dog.
Penny says I'm controlling the show at WCRS. I have my hands full.
That's right. So we're going to say adieu now. Again, thank you so much, Karen. It's been a delight having you here this afternoon.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Anne.
All right. This is WCRS. We have dropped the curtain. We will cue the music and say, see you in the morning.